What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome back to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And we're all just hamsters running in a wheel. Woo! We're here with episode 152, where we're going to be talking about the art of intentional gaming. I remember the title of this episode with our special guest, Andrew Orsie. Woo-hoo! But first, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. Here we go. Liz, how you doing?
I'm great.
Okay.
I got to see a baseball game yesterday.
You did.
That was wonderful.
Wow.
Even though our team was horrible.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
Go Barnstormers. But yeah, they were not so hot. But you know, a lot of these guys, they haven't played baseball in the past year and a half. So did not blame them. But
yeah.
Man,
but I got a tank top out of it.
You did get a tank top.
And a hot dog.
I got this hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like my hat.
Mm-hmm. It's very nice.
It's a very nice hat.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. But yeah, so we got some show for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before we get started, a little bit of announcement. Mm-hmm. So I already told my Discord people on this, but Liz and I are going to be taking a kind of longer hiatus from the show. So starting on June 28th will be the final show before the hiatus. June 28th into a few months.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Least.
Yeah, I'm not sure when we're going to come back, but we're going to take all of July just to focus on packing and the move process and all that, then actually moving out. And if you didn't know, we're moving to North Dakota. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to take some time just to explore just the state in of itself. So if you're a regular listener here, it's not that we're falling off the face of the planet at this point. It just means that we're taking a break from Games and Groceries just to explore the area around us. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah.
But we will still be recording What's the Biz. What's the Biz is our other podcast that takes 10 minutes to edit and there's no planning involved. It's super chill, super casual. Mm-hmm. So links for that is in the description down below, as well as our second channel, eVault. We're still doing eVault in the hiatus because we don't really have an upload schedule with it, and we can be really creative with it, whereas this takes about 15 to 20 hours per week to produce. Yeah. So
there might be some longer times between the next video and the following video, probably.
For eVault?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just because we still will be taking some form of creation vacation for the move.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's not going anywhere.
So we are going to come back to Games and Groceries. You just don't know when. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to put a time on us just yet, but June 28th will be the final episode before the hiatus, and we will let you know when we will come back. We'll probably make it like a really cool like comeback video on Games and Groceries.
Yes, like a trailer.
Yeah, a little trailer. So we'll give you more information on that, but we just want to let you know ahead of time that we're going to take a pretty long hiatus starting on June 28th. But that's just business out of the way. We can want to remind everybody that we're on social media at Gaming Groceries on Twitter, or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
You can follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. And you can also check out the questions of the week. Wow! Woo-hoo! I will ask you a question pertaining to the discussion that we will have on this very podcast. So go check that out on our social media pages that you can answer some questions. But the questions are also available on our Discord. Wow! The Discord will be the link will be in the description down below. Join the Discord. We got people like Andrew Orsie, who's the guest today. We got that Commander Nikki action. We got that Twofer. We got that we got that Mike Fury. We got that Felix Check. We got so many people. We got the Price Field. We got everybody there. So it's a blast. So definitely check out the Discord while you're down there. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you know when all these channels, when all these podcasts come out. And you'll know when we're back from the hiatus. So you'll have that going for you. And with all that said and done, we need to move on. We need to go into it. Well, let's talk about the movie that we watched the past week with our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we watched in the past week, whether it be on Netflix, Hulu, or HBO Max. We like to give you a recommendation or not a recommendation. Here on the Games Groceries podcast, we have a 5-point scale of how to recommend a movie. We start at avoid at all costs, yuck, and then we go into pass, and then we go to enjoyable, then solid, and perfect for us. For us. I can't stress that enough. Perfect for us. But again, that's avoid at all costs, pass, enjoyable, solid, and perfect for us. So this week's movie actually comes to us from HBO Max. It actually joins HBO Max this month. It was a 2020 movie written by Miranda July. And it is a movie called Kajillionaire. Hooray. So we watched this movie on HBO Max, and we're going to go into our thoughts on it. But first, the recommendation scale. What did you give it? Go.
I gave it a solid.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this movie. It was just interesting to me, and I feel like I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. There were just some things about it that I was like, all right, or when are we going to get to this point?
Right.
Like, it's like, all right, when are we going to move on? Like, it's like I feel like in every act I was like, all right, but when is the next part?
Yes.
Because they would take things a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, I gave it enjoyable. Now, for me, it was enjoyable. You really like this movie much more than me.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed this movie, and I enjoyed it. But like you said, I think this movie dragged a little bit, and I'm going to get into my thoughts in just a bit. But in terms of my recommendation, I don't think it's solid for me, but I don't think it's a pass either. I don't think you should pass for this movie, but I enjoyed my time with it, and that's why I gave it enjoyable.
So if they're interested in it,
yeah,
it's worth it.
So let's go into my notes here. So first, at the start of this film, you absolutely know it's evident that this movie, Kajillionaire, from the very get-go, is about, family who is trying to make your life their life. They raise their children to be themselves and what they think about life, their life philosophies.
They expect their child to also do that.
Yeah, follow suit with it instead of pursuing their own dreams. And I think this couldn't connect with a lot of people out there where it's just like their parents, whether it be good or bad, right? Excuse me, life philosophies, if I should say, whether it be good or bad, I think people can connect with this. Where it's just like I have my own dreams, but I don't know how to pursue my own dreams because I'm kind of stuck in this bubble of family, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I think that a lot of people can relate. I don't know if I related to this because I am my own person. I'm so artistic. Blah, blah, blah,
But
blah.
I think that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I related to it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that like you said, it's not always a bad thing. It's just like I didn't really do what my parents expected me to be. I'm not the type of person they expected me to be, and so I kind of felt like I just kind of related to the main characters and I understood it.
Right.
So I think maybe that's why I liked it more.
I will say the character writing was. I was on the fence about it. Like the character writing, I felt like they got some great talent in this. Absolutely fantastic casting, but the writing itself, I was just like, I'm not understanding what the motive is for everybody in this situation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and I don't want to give away too much, but there's somebody, there's some things in here I'm like, okay, well, why are you doing this for them?
Yeah.
Or like, why is this happening for them specifically? It was just a lot of different things where I was just like,
there wasn't a lot of explanation where explanation would have improved the movie. Like there are sometimes where we're just like, they didn't explain it and it was great.
Right.
Whereas in this, they didn't explain it and the explanation would have made the movie better.
Exactly.
Whereas,
I felt like the characters themselves I didn't really get too attached to. But then again, there's some movies that will. Like for me, with Life is Strange, I didn't really connect to Max and Chloe. I liked them, but I wasn't fully invested into their lives. And I think it's because my life doesn't really relate to this movie. This is definitely a movie that reaches out to somebody that's been through this.
Yeah.
And kind of, family kind of structure.
Yeah.
And they don't know what is outside of the bubble. I think that's what this character writing really does for this kind of movie. It connects to somebody that's been in this.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really related. And so I just more enjoyed the ride. Whereas, some people will find it to be like, oh my, this is exactly what it is. Now my final note is that sometimes, like you said, this movie can drag a bit. But the message of it...
The message is nice. It's just there are some scenarios and I'm just like, when are we going to move to the next part? Like, I get that this is what's happening. We can move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's people who don't like slow burn movies won't like this movie. If they like a lot of action or they like a lot of jump scenes, it doesn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
It does drag a bit, but I think the message in the end, it's evident. There's not really anything searching for it. You understand what they're trying to go for, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the message is pretty clear in this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt like this could have been a good. I don't know. I think I enjoyed it, but because it did drag, but I liked the message. It was just weird in that kind of way where it is a very artsy movie without being too artsy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. You really liked it.
I did.
You very much enjoyed it. I thought the ending was really good.
I loved the ending.
The ending was great. I'm going to give them that.
That's why I wish it didn't drag so much. Because I'm like, I wish I could have gotten more of that.
Yes.
Stuff.
I agree. But that's our brief thoughts on Kajillionaire. Again, you can find this on HBO Max. I recommend it. If you like these kinds of movies where it's a very slow burn, very relatable kind of movie, not a ton of soundtrack. And now that I think about it, there's not a lot of music in this movie.
No.
Not that I'm aware of anyway. But yeah, it's called Kajillionaire. You can find it on HBO Max. So check it out for yourself. But, it's time to move on to some gaming news. What do you think?
Okay.
All right, let's do it. Let's go on to it with our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week. And we like to rank it 3, 2, 1, just to give you a condensed version of, hey, what's going on in the gaming industry? Oh, I got scared. What's going on here?
News.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Got scared, everybody. Oh, okay, we're back. We're back, everybody. But we got the top 3 gaming news for you. Wow, and the dog is exploring the room.
Because you alerted him. This is all your fault.
Let's move on to our number 3 gaming news. It's about EA and Battlefield. And they hired a new general manager for the Battlefield franchise.
Woohoo!
Which is kind of crazy because you know who they hired?
Who?
Mr. Byron Bede.
Who dat?
If you don't know, he was the general manager behind the Call of Duty franchise.
Oh.
So in opposing what do you call a competitor or a
competitor?
Like the head competitor against your franchise, they got the general manager behind that franchise to go forward.
Competition?
Yeah, the competition to your franchise to lead your franchise,
Yeah.
to actually lead it into the future.
Yeah.
So this is actually coming from an article from IGN, I believe. I believe so. But yeah, so this is actually big news. This EA put out this news to say that, hey, we hired this person. Not only will this go into Battlefield 6 and the mobile game, but this is a hire that they want to lead the future of the franchise for by hiring the Call of Duty general manager, which by far Call of Duty has just taken storm.
Yeah.
Just recently. Only recently, they've only taken storm,
yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like when Call of Duty first came out, they were facing against Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
And I still remember when Medal of Honor was still like the biggest thing. And then Call of Duty was just kind of like, oh, Call of Duty. Yeah, that's a thing. And they just decimated Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor is just no longer a thing. They try to come back and it's just like nobody cares. Nobody cares about Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Now, Call of Duty, right? They got the general manager from him, and I want to read this quote from EA, who has this to say. This is from the article linked down below, and it says EA announced today that Byron Bede has joined Battlefield as SVP, Senior Vice President, and GM, General Manager, and signals a strategic, long-term commitment to the growth of the franchise. Bede previously worked as general manager on both the Call of Duty and Destiny franchises, and with Call of Duty, it was part of the launching series live service aspects, including Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile. So this guy was behind Call of Duty Warzone as well. So that's kind of crazy. So this guy is leading the franchises for Call of Duty and Destiny and made Call of Duty Warzone and made the Call of Duty mobile game, and he's going to go over to the Battlefield franchise.
Yeah.
So once again, I don't think we're going to see the full effects of this in Battlefield 6.
Yeah.
Because he's just going to kind of market that.
Yeah.
He's going to kind of lead like the post-launch of that. So, but this is going to be, like they said, a strategic long-term.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's something that they're going to continue to use him for. And, good for them getting. I
wonder if this will signal, like, will Battlefield become as big as Call of Duty? But I don't know.
I guess you'll have to wait and see.
This is really just kind of like a time will tell thing because it's potential for both ways. Potential because the Battlefield name is, people know it, but there's a niche market for it. Whereas Call of Duty is your basic kind of gamer boy. Call of Duty, Madden.
Yeah.
Those are your big two.
Yeah.
And then Battlefield is still in that market. It's still a big name.
For sure.
But to say that, I don't know if they're expecting that they're going to beat out Call of Duty with this. I hope they don't think that.
They shouldn't, because like they said, this is a long-term strategic thing. And if they thought that like, oh yeah, now Battlefield's going to be bigger, they wouldn't
There's no
say
way
that it's going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah, they say it's long-term. They say it's going to be a while. In the same way that Tim Sweeney says that, his investments with the Epic Game Store is a long-term effect. And that's why he's gotten so much money in investments. Same thing with this. I think it's going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
It may not be with Battlefield 6. It might not be with a Battlefield mobile game. It might not be with Battlefield 7. But I think this is a good term for EA. I think this is a great move, and we'll see where it goes. It's really a time will tell kind of deal.
Definitely.
So, why don't we move on to the number 2 gaming news?
Okay.
This is actually a report that came out that we reported on, I want to say, before we even did video for this podcast. But if you don't remember, the Panic is a game publisher that also did Firewatch and the Untitled Goose Game. So that game publisher came out to say in 2019, they came out with this Crank handheld, right? It's a handheld with a little crank on it. You remember this?
Not really.
So in 2019, they put this out there and they said like, this is going to launch in 2020. And 2020 happened and it did not do anything. And everything went silent. Well, now, here in the year 2021, Panic actually put out a great update to say that, hey, it's coming out. It's coming out pretty soon. But there's a slight little change here and there. So this is an update from Panic themselves. And I want to read it straight from the article that's linked down below. So check that one out. So this is from the article that says, Panic took to Twitter Friday morning to share an update on its upcoming handheld. Instead of its previous $149 price tag, Playdate will now run you $179 at launch. So from $149 to $179. But it'll also come with 24 games instead of the 12 as previously planned. Likewise, the little tiny handheld's internal storage has been bumped up from 2 gigabytes to 4 gigabytes. So that's great news. So yeah, you're going to be bumped up $30, but you get 12 more games and 2 more gigabytes of storage.
Yeah.
So what's even greater about this little update here is that Panic has said, hey, this is the updates about the price, how many games you get, how many gigabytes you get. But as you're watching this or listening to this on Monday, you'll be listening to this Monday, June 7th. Yeah, that makes sense. On Monday, June 7th, there's actually tomorrow, as you're watching this, tomorrow, there's going to be a kind of like a little direct, like a Panic Direct, talking all about this little thing. It's going to be happening at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I think I'll be home in time. Who knows? But yeah, there's going to be a little update video. It's going to show off this system. It's going to tell more pre-order details. But it's going to be happening tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Nice.
So what do you think about this little thing?
I still don't know. I'll have to watch the video about it because I don't know. That little thing for $150.
$180. Yeah. Well, this is.
And I'm assuming the crank is like what powers it.
Well, it powers it, but it also there's some gameplay to it. So like
okay,
a little
but
fishing.
it's the power. So
I'm not sure. And I guess
Yeah,
we'll find
so-
out from this video.
yeah, that
But it is a lot, $180 for
this tiny little thing.
Yeah.
When there's already a market for handhelds, and it's
I don't know about $180.
that's
for
what I
something.
mean. It's
for
I
a
don't
very
know if
niche
it's worth
thing.
it. If you're gonna spend money, you might as well spend a little bit more and get a Switch Lite.
I mean, really, yeah. So I'll be looking forward to watching this update video tomorrow.
Yeah.
But time will tell, I guess.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, they'll be talking about pre-order details and all that junk. But I thought it was interesting because the last time we saw this little thing was in 2019, and I can't remember even what month it was, but I think it was like summer 2019. I remember. But I remember I think we reported on this before we even had video on this podcast, if I remember correctly. But it's kind of crazy. But yeah, good luck to Panic. I hope this does well. I hope this does well for them. I think it's a creative little thing, but I don't know if I'll be buying it for $180.
Yeah.
Which moves us on to our number one gaming news, which is the talk of the town.
Ooh.
God of War. No, it was delayed. Oh. Also, it's going to be on PlayStation 4, which a lot of people are angry about.
Why?
Okay, so let me explain that first. So, okay, first and foremost, God of War delayed to 2022, and we're going to get into that article quote in just a second. Now, part of the updates on the PlayStation blog that was given by, I can't even remember his name. Oopsies. But the head of studio, Herman Holst, right? He had to say that also it's going to be coming out on the PlayStation 4, and they said, we're not going to abandon our 110 million PlayStation 4 owners. And a lot of people are upset because Jim Ryan came out and said, we believe in generations, meaning that when a new game comes out, it's only going to come out on PlayStation 5. There's not going to be a cross-generation
But he's
deal.
also aware that he'll make more sales putting it on PlayStation 4 because...
Look at that! You have brains! Wow!
And on top of that, it's like...
I'm not saying like...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying, it's like, the people on Twitter, I feel like don't have a head. Like, why would they do that? Bruh, it's so stupid. Money!
Yeah.
Money!
And on top of that, they know that PlayStations are like so hard to get. Like a PlayStation 5,
Yeah.
they've said like we're not gonna have a lot of new ones till next year. So they know that a good chunk of their market still have PlayStation 4s, even though they want a PlayStation 5. So it's like
Jim
they're
Ryan.
not stupid.
Jim Ryan is a businessman. Jim Ryan likes money. Jim Ryan wants as much money and as much profit as possible. He doesn't care about the outcome of the game. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about whether or not, like, oh, well, it's a special thing. The most graphical, intensive, blah, blah. He doesn't care. He just wants you to buy the game. And guess what has the most market reach? That's right. Putting on PlayStation 4 and 5.
Yep.
Oh, who would have thunk it? He's going to make more money if he puts it on both systems.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that a lot of people don't understand. And I do hear people out with saying that, like, oh, well, if they put it on PlayStation 4, it's going to hold it back because they're going to have to cut some things, because what they said is that if it comes out on PlayStation 5, it's not going to be able to run on the PS4. Like the graphical intensities of the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 are vastly different. So if you design a game for both systems, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He cares about the wallet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, let's get to what you were reporting on.
So also, before I get to this, also a little update. Apparently, Cory Barlog made the calls about this by also making it delayed and also putting it on a PS4. Cory Barlog, the creator of God of War, made the calls. So a little update on that. So people who don't think that people care about the money. So this is a quote from the blog post down below. The article is linked down below. Blog post says this. And for God of War, the project started a little later. This is talking about, so let me preface this. So they're talking about how Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West is coming out before, like it's still on track for 2021. So why is God of War being delayed? And then they're saying that, well, God of War started a little later in production than Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. And for God of War, the project started a little later. So we've made the decision to push the game out to next year to ensure that Santa Monica Studio can deliver the amazing God of War game that we all want to play. With these things, something's got to give. But it cannot be the quality of our titles, and it surely won't be the health or the well-being of our amazing team.
Yes.
So they're saying that, like, hey, listen, Santa Monica, okay, something's got to give here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's either give you more time or give you less health.
Mm-hmm.
They chose more time.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Is that, like, a lot of people are upset. It's like, oh, 2022, I can't wait that long. But here's the thing. These are the same people that will always complain of just like crunch hours and blah, blah, blah. I don't want people to crunch, but I also want my video games. Blah, blah, blah. What do you want?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. It's just like, what do you want? What would you rather have? Would you rather have a healthy team or for you to have your video game that you're going to play and you're going to beat and you're just going to forget about?
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Let's take care of the long-term effects of human beings.
Like really. And for you to say that, like, well, it has to come out on PlayStation 5 only. It's just like, okay, I get that on a gamer's set point that like you want the prettiest game alive. But you also have to understand that Jim Ryan doesn't care. Jim Ryan loves his money.
And like you said, it was Cory Barlog who made that
Cory
decision.
Barlog made the call.
Who you said is the creator?
Yeah, he was.
So
if you remember, Cory
that
Barlog.
means that he never planned on making it super gorgeous for PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So it was never going to be that.
I mean, God of War on the PlayStation 4 was like a technological marvel because it had. Okay, it didn't have loading times, quote unquote, but it kind of did in some form and fashion. It did little tricks here, but that's the thing. He did little tricks so that it could work on the PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. It was a technical marvel, I believe. So if he can make that for the PlayStation 4, he can make it again for PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
It's fine, everybody. It's fine.
And he can tweak it enough that it'll be fine on PlayStation 5.
Yeah. So... but yeah, they actually took it away, or Cory Barlog made the calls to say like, hey, we need more time. And Sony said, we want you guys to be healthy, so we're going to give you more time. Mm-hmm. There's that. And it's going to come out on PlayStation 4 because there's 110 million PlayStation 4 owners. And how many people own the PlayStation 5? Because you can't find it right now. Mm-hmm. He wants to make more money. That's it. Yeah. It's all money. It's all money. Everybody that's whining about this and saying that like, oh, you don't really care about the gamers. No, they don't. They don't. They straight up don't. They don't. But until you understand that full and well, that large video game companies like Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo.
You have to remember, they started as companies that weren't part of video games first.
Yeah. You have to understand.
They didn't get into this for the gamers. They got into this for the money.
For the money. But that's all I got to say about it. Blah, blah, blah. You hate my opinion. Blah, blah, blah. So let's bring it to a brighter note because this is probably our fan favorite guest. And it's one of our favorite guests to have on. And we're actually going to talk about intentional gaming. So if you watched the episode last week, we talked about this article from Rutgers University about time management and video games. So we kind of want to follow up that one by talking about what does it mean to have intentional gaming behind you. And Mr. Andrew Orsie is actually doing something called digital minimalism. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But, enough said about that. We've introduced Andrew Orsie enough times. He doesn't need an introduction.
Yeah, we don't really need to introduce him.
So let's just bring him on. Let's bring out our good friend, Mr. Andrew Orsie. Whoa! All right, everybody, we are back with our very special guest, the one who always invades our space and our podcast and our lives. Oh my goodness, it's Andrew Orsie! Surprise!
Yeah, they don't even ask me to come anymore. I just show up.
You just show up. It's just like, oh, but it's a Discord call from Andrew Orsie. What the heck do you want
I had
now?
this inkling you guys were recording an episode right now.
I have this sense. Andrew, we announced our hiatus, and of course, in the last 4 episodes before the big hiatus, of course, you got to come back on the show at least one more time. at least.
At least.
Maybe 3 more times. Well,
She's
who
going to
knows?
be our guest until the last one.
He's gonna be our intern in Games Groceries. You know, he's gotta train a little bit, get the
Yeah,
wheels going, and then
yeah.
he can just take it over. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It'll match up with all the other projects I'm doing right now. Unpaid.
Oh, pretty
There
much.
you go.
Dang.
Perfect.
Fair points. So, Andrew, I actually want to bring you on not only because we're going on a bit of a hiatus, and I wanted you back on before we did, but you're also practicing digital minimalism right now. And we talked about last week about this sort of time management going on in video games with Rutgers University. And intentional gaming, but that's why I want to bring in here the art of intentional gaming. So before I want to go forward, Andrew, you've been reading a book, you've been practicing it for, you'll let us know how many days at this point, but what is digital minimalism? Is it necessary? Why is it important to manage our time with gaming? Andrew, take it away.
Yeah. So I've been reading this book that is literally just called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Ooh, I have it right here. We're not sponsored, but if you want to, Cal, he's probably not on the internet. He's practicing digital minimalism.
Probably.
Oh, it's like if you're
Like
listening
the
to this
one
on
person who's not going to be sponsoring a podcast.
100%.
100%.
So, I was interested in this. A friend mentioned it to me via, I believe she said something about it on social media. And it sounded interesting. This is like preface for me. I've always been a person who is not a huge fan of social media. I know that it's a time suck. I know that it's like I have a tendency to doom scroll more than anything. Like if I'm scrolling through a news feed, 98% of the time I come out angrier than I went in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not like a great thing. And I think I've always been decent about self-regulating. I am one of the people on the New York subway that will like not have my phone out and look around at how every single other person is buried in a phone, like the entire subway ride, versus I'm either just standing there observing my surroundings or I'm reading a book. So I've always been like, I've been a person who is predisposed to be conscious of my digital use.
Yeah.
But this past 15, 16, whatever months, I've had no job. I've had nothing going on. I can't really leave the house.
Right.
So habits that I think I've resisted for a long time by staying busy with other things and by prioritizing my time with jobs and projects and acting and whatever the heck I was doing. I suddenly didn't have any of that. And so I'm just sitting at home all day and I started to get into habits of like scrolling social media, which is not something I'm going to do. Like, and it would be like 2 hours. I would wake up and lay in my bed for 2 hours on my phone. Yeah. It's like, that's not how I should start my day.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was usually, especially in the past year, you can imagine me going into Twitter rabbit holes where I'm in a political firestorm thread and everyone's throwing things around and everything's terrible. It was all terrible. And I didn't come out of that with like a clearer view on anyone's opinion because everyone just screamed insults at each other. I didn't come out of it with better information about the news because it wasn't a news site, it's Twitter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there wasn't actual like value to balance out the like emotion that I was feeling. So I was noticing that and simultaneously noticing like I've in the past had, if I've worked 5 days in a row and I'm tired, I come home and I'll play video games the whole next day. If I have the day off, like after 5 days in a row of work or something, and I'm tired and I just want to veg out, I don't care. And I don't like penalize myself for that generally. As long as I'm not getting work done, it's fine to do it. But when I'm here and I'm trying to like regulate my time to like work on this music thing or like learn programming, all of which are things that I'm trying to do that have like goals that I need to work to achieve. But the video game controller is right there on the couch sitting here. And I just go, I'll just play a game while I eat lunch. And then as soon as lunch is over, I'll get to work. And then it's 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that one day, but if I kind of started doing it 4 or 5 days in a row or every day, it was becoming like a very impulsive thing. So I happened to like check this book out of the library, reading through it, and essentially it's a pretty the actual just like description of digital minimalism is pretty short. The book is divided into 2 parts. And it's like the first like 50 pages are like, here's what it is, here's why we do it, try it. And then the rest of it is like, here are maybe pitfalls and other things you can like try to occupy your time with. So essentially digital minimalism is having an awareness of, in our digital age, how most, if not all, technologies are built nowadays to keep your attention on them continuously as long as possible. There's devs who have come out of Facebook and other social media type things who literally said, part of our goals in building the back end of these things was to keep the user's eyes trained on them. Like that is literally a thing that was said out loud.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily shocking to me, but I think we don't talk about it a lot.
Right.
Or actively think about it when you're just using the site.
Or just be concerned about it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely people that aren't worried about it, that don't care if they're on their phone all day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess more power to them. Live your life the way you want. I think that's miserable for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he talks about a lot about that, and then essentially outlines how you can move yourself into digital minimalism. The idea is to change your relationship with technology, because technology is advancing so fast that we don't always have the time to like evolve and adapt to each new flashy thing that comes as it goes. And because we don't have this sort of easy access to technology anywhere in the past,
right,
no one has like a blueprint as to how to effectively approach new technologies. We just kind of grab them.
Yeah.
Which is what they want us to do. I mean, they're making it flashy on purpose.
Yeah.
So what he says is you're going to do a digital declutter. 30-day digital declutter is what it's called. It is not a detox, because a detox implies that you just get rid of it for a while and then you go back the way you were. The idea is to change your habits. So everyone kind of gets to set their own rules on the declutter. Any technology for work, you have to keep, obviously.
Right.
If you're online, I'm still doing online classes right now because that's working towards my goal. That's a thing I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not just like being off the internet. But my phone is the emptiest it's ever been.
Nice.
I deleted all like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those are gone. Discord's gone, Reddit's gone. Safari is gone because I mean, I'll be honest, Facebook's been off my phone for a long time, but I would just open it in Safari. So
fair.
There you go.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
So basically my phone has like texting, phone, Lyft, Seamless for food delivery, and banking. Like that's all that's left on the phone at this point. In other words, I don't want things that are going to give me notifications, because anything that pulls you into the phone, you can then just start browsing through things on your phone. And then my other choice was to limit video games to an hour a day. And very specifically, I have to, because I was doing it habitually, because I was just picking up a controller, I have to play them by choosing, okay, this is when I'm going to play the video games. I set a timer for an hour, and I only play it for that amount of time. And I'm allowed to relax and play it for that amount of time. I don't have to be worried about other things, but that has to be like you've chosen this as your break hour in the middle of the day where you're going to play a game real quick. And as soon as that hour's done, you're going back to the other thing that you need to finish for the day, whatever that may be. And I'm doing the same thing with binge watching. I'm not allowed to binge watch because that's another, I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that one too, where you just, because there's the autoplay, it just goes forever.
Yes.
So I've limited myself to one episode a day.
Wow.
It can be,
Good
it doesn't
for
matter
you.
what it is. It can be an hour episode or a half an hour episode, whatever I may be watching, but one.
Yes.
So the idea is to do this for 30 days. I started at the beginning of June. I'm just using the month of June. I said, Pride Month? I don't need technology.
Actually, yeah, that's a good month to do it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing it for the month of June. And then the general idea would be that because you, like the first couple weeks will probably be hard, he says, which makes sense to me. And then because you do this for 30 days, you don't immediately in July just bring everything back.
Right.
You start to gradually reintroduce stuff one at a time. And as you reintroduce the thing, what you're supposed to do at that point in the digital minimalist philosophy is ask yourself, does this bring me value?
Mm-hmm.
And is it the most efficient way to get that value?
Mm.
So if I was using Twitter for my news,
Yeah.
is Twitter the most efficient way to get news? It's definitely not.
Fair.
So at that point, I would say, okay, if the only value I see in Twitter is news, we don't put Twitter back. We find a new app that consolidates the news sources I'm interested in and delivers them in like a 15-minute digestible bite or something like that, so that I'm allowed to engage with the news every day. That's a good thing. It has value to me. But I'm not doing anything that's going to keep me scrolling through various articles in a disorganized fashion for hours.
Yes.
So yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm 5 days in. It's weird.
Yeah, I imagine. Because that's the thing, is that we're trying to break a habit here. And like we said, Andrew, is that they're designed to keep your eyes focused. The one thing that I did pick up on, well, not one thing, many things that I picked on when you said, is that it's not a declutter, it's not a detox, it's a declutter. And once in July, you just start to unpack things that you actually want in life, right?
Yeah.
And I think in this month, you get to figure out what you actually want and what's your, not even want, but what you need in life. And therefore, like your phone isn't just cluttered up, and you have your phone for a purpose rather than a toy, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that kind of goes into video games at this point. So, Andrew, thank you for sharing what you've been reading.
Sorry, that was very long-winded.
That's okay.
I mean, that's what, again, that's why I wanted to bring you on for, because you're actually practicing this. You're actually doing this. Like the article said in Rutgers University, that you can only do an hour every weekday and 4 hours on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I read that and I'm like, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fair amount. Like 4 hours on a weekend. So my weekends, like I said, are Mondays and Tuesdays. That's around what I get, about 3 to 4 hours, maybe, because I'm working on other things. I'm working on Games and Groceries, eVault. I'm not working on What's the Biz, because that's just like, it's like, whatever, grab
Just
a
kind
drink.
of show up to that.
Basically show up. But yeah, so that is what digital minimalism is. Now let's revert that to the games industry. And like what you said, you have the video game controller, you see it there, and it's 8 p.m. Like you're done for. But because you set that hour, right, it makes it that much clearer. Now, because, I've been so busy too, I've been just loving MLB The Show 21. I love it on Game Pass because I can get in a game, boom, maybe a game or two, because sometimes they take me out as the pitcher and I'm like, oh man, come on. And so I would take 2 games. That's about half hour to an hour just to do that, and I'm done. Then I can go right back. Now, my question as we continue this conversation is that, do we think that the modern gaming industry, the modern gaming culture, actually encourages intentional gaming? And when I'm talking about intentional gaming, we're talking about what digital minimalism is that having something for a purpose that's like essential for you, right? Intentional gaming, right? Does it allow that, or does it, try to get you away from thinking about it intentionally and just keep making you play and play and play no matter what? So, Andrew, what do you think about this?
I think it varies game to game. I think it varies developer to developer, and I think it varies even like genre to genre. You can see differences in this sort of thing. I would say, like, I don't have a ton of experience with a wide array of MMOs, but I would suggest that MMOs try to keep you playing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because like that's a whole game design. It's just to keep you leveling up and keep giving more content.
The more players we have online, the more, if they have advertising and sponsoring, they probably get paid per that.
Yes.
A lot of them, like WoW and that sort of thing, Final Fantasy 14, they have monthly subscription kind of things, so they need you to be checking in regularly, even if you're not playing long times each day. They don't want to lose you and have you go, oh, why am I paying for this subscription? Stop my money.
Yes.
So those definitely are, I think, the clearest cut answer. But I think a lot of games, I mean, that's the thing about video games as a form of entertainment that I think we need to keep an awareness of within ourselves, is they are built to give constant little tiny packages of dopamine.
Yes.
They're like, did you get a level up? We're going to play a little trumpet jingle and show you some numbers increasing. Ooh, doesn't that feel good? Like,
Yeah.
or everything is packaged by like levels or by matches, or it's small compact things that, and this is the binge watching weakness too. If it is a small compact thing, it makes it that much easier for your brain to go, that felt good. What would one more hurt?
Right.
And then 21 mores later, you've been playing forever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Liz, what do you think about this?
No, I think a lot of video games kind of go off this, because like you think of even like the long-winded games that go on for hours. You think, oh well, I'll go a little bit more, see how far I can get.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're just like, oh, I'll play for a little bit, but then the story gets really interesting.
Right.
Like there's always twists and turns in stories, so you're going to do that. Even think about how like when we've been playing
It Takes Two.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We still have not beaten it.
Because every time we go on, we're like, oh, why don't we finish this game? But it's so much longer than we anticipated it being.
Yes.
That our sessions are longer than they would typically be because we think we're almost done.
Yeah, it's surprisingly a long game.
It's unnecessarily long.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, where we're like, oh, well, we'll just play and we'll finish it up, and then we don't, but our sessions are longer because we're like, oh, well, we're almost done, right?
Yeah, because we're at the part where we think we're at the end, and we have this piece of note, and the book comes out like, oh, you need to earn these 4 pieces of them. Like,
and then he throws them away, and we're like, oh.
So it's like 4 levels of just like, they're each like maybe like an hour and a half long. I'm like, dang it, come on.
So
did you want 600 extra fetch quests?
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
basically it. I'm like,
Exactly.
oh my goodness. Okay.
And so it's like, and other games, like I said, you got games like, I don't know, I can't think of any games. The only thing I keep thinking of is how long Red Dead Redemption 2 is.
Yes.
And that's the thing. The
Or
story,
Persona 5.
There you go. The stories are captivating. So when you're like, oh, I'll just play for like 30 minutes, like, oh, well, that was really interesting. Let me see what happens after that. And that's, I mean, even the shows we watch.
Yes.
You know, we were watching Better Call Saul. You're like, why don't we watch that instead? Because you wanted to know what happened next. And that's how everything gets you. So I think video games definitely do it. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know, because you think regular games, they don't really get anything the longer you play. You already paid for the game. It doesn't matter to them. But I think games definitely do it.
Well, I think it goes either way, because I like your answer, Andrew. I love your answer, Andrew. I think Andrew is a very valuable guest here on the Games and Groceries podcast, so I must say that for legal reasons. But for the MMOs, MMO or RPGs, anything like that, or even games as a live service, like you're talking about your Call of Duty Call of Duty Warzones, your just like anything like that, right? So I was about to say Call of Duty Warzone, but then I'm like, oh, but I get so caught up in Call of Duty Black Ops. What's the one I like? What's the game mode I like? Prop Hunt. I get so caught up in Prop Hunt. But that's the thing.
Or even like Candy Crush.
Or even Candy Crush. But that's the thing.
Is the mobile games 100%.
Oh my
mobile
gosh,
games.
yes. Anything on your phone is meant to captivate your attention.
It's nothing but.
That's why every single app you put on your phone has a notification system.
Right.
And
every single one of them has notifications, and the in-app purchases pop up between every level because they know they're keeping you playing, so they want to give you as many opportunities as possible to maybe pay something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think MMOs keep you playing. And unfortunately with RPGs, right? RPGs are a fantastic like game design. It really is. It really enthralls you into the world. But at the same time, I don't have time for them. But like you said, I think it's gaming culture that tries to get you to binge it rather than the game industry themselves. Because like you said, for a story-based game like Persona 5 that takes 200 literal hours just to beat, 200 hours, or Red Dead Redemption 2 that takes 60, I don't think the games company cares if you beat it in like a week.
You already paid for it. They don't care.
Games culture, it's just like, oh, I
need to finish this because otherwise I'm going to get spoiled.
Yeah, or I'm gonna get spoiled, or this person hasn't seen the light of day since 7 days ago because he's been playing Persona 5 for 3 nights in a row, right? I think it's almost like that peer
And he's
pressure.
only a third of the way through the game.
He's only a third of the way. Like, honestly, Persona 5 is too long. I'm sorry. But anyways, so I don't think the games company cares if you beat it right away. Most of them know that you're not going to beat the game because you paid for it. They don't care if you beat it. You paid for it. But it's the game's culture that says, like, have you done this level? Have you done that level? And like, have you done this ending? Are you the good or the bad? Right? Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Haven't you played through all 3 games 3 different times? Haven't you gone through the trilogy in the trilogy style? It's like
I can't tell you how I played Mass Effect 1 and 2 before I started this, and I had just started 3, and it's been like, I played those so fast, and I can only play 1 hour at a time this way.
Which is why I can't bring in new RPGs, because I play a little bit of Mass Effect because I'm familiar with it. You know, I know the story. But to give me a new RPG, I'm just like, I don't have time for that. I'm sorry.
I've owned Persona 5 for 2 years and haven't touched it because I just know.
It's 200 hours. Like, and like you said, when you only have an hour a day, 200 hours, that's 200 days just dedicated to a game. 200 days. That's almost a year.
Yeah.
It's almost a year. But yeah, it's kind of like it goes game by game, but intentional gaming is just when we're talking about intentional gaming, like what Andrew said, like an hour a day, maybe a couple more hours during the weekends, right? Like what Rutgers said. But I think it goes either game industry or game culture. I don't think it really encourages it, but I don't also see them discouraging it either. But that's exactly how they get you, right?
Yeah.
Twitter doesn't discourage or encourage it. It just exists. They invent the platform to keep you on it. Same thing with the game's culture. It's like they'll never say it, but it's part of their operations. Yeah. You know?
Well, I would also say that like gaming culture, while it is its own beast, is a product of modern day technology culture where everybody expects everything to be consumed as quickly as possible. They want it immediately. They want it like like immediately. You know what I mean? Like the whole it's funny because it's one of those things when people will talk about like some point in the future we're going to be able to take a book and just flip through it and it'll be in our brains. And I'm like I like reading.
Yeah.
I don't want to just know.
Yeah.
Like the process of going through the adventure and taking your time with it is much more satisfying. But the way technology advances in the modern world, and especially in a capitalist world where a lot of things are based around money, which is the root of some of this stuff, is that it's like get it as fast as possible and then get the next best thing. Yes. Always trying to get the next thing out. Like the fact we don't need a new model of the iPhone every single year.
No.
The iPhones do not go bad that fast, but that's Apple's model and everyone has bought into it. Apple doesn't even do sales. The prices of Apple products are insane.
Yes.
But they never do sales because people pay those prices.
It's insane.
It's all like a trap. Yes. Anyway, so here we are.
Well, actually brings me into my next topic here is that talk about video game consoles, owning multiple consoles, right? Like what you said, like we live in an industry, not just with video games, but with Apple, but with all sorts of technology, right? But now we're getting into this next generation and we're getting into console wars and we're getting into owning these multiple consoles, right? Now, let's bring this up. Can buying multiple consoles, like, you know, getting an Xbox and a PlayStation and a Switch and a Panic Playdate, right? Can all of these things contribute in a way to intentional gaming? Or should we look towards just getting one gaming console, right? Because there are different games that we like to play. Like, for me, I love Ghost of Tsushima as a PlayStation exclusive. Well, now it's on PC. Wait, is it on PC? No. No, it's not.
A whole lot of thoughts all at once.
I don't think Ghost... Did it get on PC? No.
No idea.
I would pick up my phone and Google it, but I can't.
Google it.
Oh, but I don't think... I don't think that was one that actually got into it. But Ghost of Tsushima, right? That is PlayStation exclusive, but I also love and value Halo. I don't care what people say. I love Halo. exclusive to the Xbox, right? These are games I definitely love and want to play, but we can also contribute to buying multiple consoles to say that like, oh, I don't really care. I just want to play them all and just get all the consoles and just play everything that possibly can come out, right? So can it contribute to that, or should we focus on that one console mentality? Before I go to Andrew, Liz, do you have an answer?
I just got it.
Probably not. I don't think it is. Okay. Andrew,
They're in line.
They're in line?
Yeah, to be.
I figured as much. This
is an article from March, so it might be out on PC by now.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think again, this is a different question for each person. And I think the way that my brain is approaching this already, which is clearly my training from the past 5 days, is which of these game systems is going to bring me the most value in the most efficient manner. This past generation, the Xbox One, PS4, and Switch, was the first time that I owned all three of the major consoles.
Yes.
Prior to that, I generally had Nintendo things, although I was going to say I didn't have the Nintendo consoles, I just had the portable systems, but that's literally a lie. I've had the GameCube, Wii, and Wii U. So that's not true. That's not true. Ignore me. But like I had a PlayStation 2, a PlayStation, like I never had an Xbox.
Right.
I didn't grow up with an Xbox. I didn't really need the third game system. I had plenty of things to keep me busy. So the only reason that I had all three was because I was getting into the, good game, great game, and like doing a gaming world type of thing. And so I needed access to more things. And that was sort of what happened there. But now as we're moving on into like the Xbox Series X and the PS5, I mean, the big reason I haven't bought one yet is because I do not have excess money to throw away on one. Sure. And I don't want to go through the headache of trying to find a place that isn't sold out, because that's been a whole process.
Yeah.
True.
But on top of that, I am sitting here thinking about, I've been a PlayStation. That's generally been the console I've followed my whole life. But Game Pass feels like the best access to the most things to me.
Yeah.
In a certain sense. So maybe I'm going to like just get the Xbox Series X. It's definitely one of those things where I think it is up to the individual. If you have money to safely spend on these things and you want to have access to multiple options, sure. But that is going to require more self-regulation in terms of not spreading yourself too thin, not falling into the trap of playing too many video games all the time. A lot of this just comes back to like intentionality in gaming is a part of teaching yourself intentionality about life, which says me, a wise 31-year-old
right,
who has spent most of his life not knowing what he's doing. But I mean, it's one of those things where I think I spent most of the pandemic deciding that, I keep having trouble focusing on these online classes. I keep having trouble, blah, blah, blah. I'm just playing video games. I'm just doing all these easy, accessible, fun things instead of working on my goals. And so I kind of decided, like, I think I'm a person that needs structure and is not able to do it for myself. Even though I want to be able to have the discipline, I work better in a school or in a any kind of like a learning environment where I'm accountable to other people externally. But in the past 5 days, I've been writing out a daily schedule and following it, like telling myself how much time I'm going to spend on each of these projects, and like finding that, maybe there is some of that. Maybe it is literally learning that like I need to be intentional about my purchases, about where I'm putting my time, about my focus. And that changes a lot. And so I think in terms of buying consoles, it's just going to be, rather than I need all the new shiny things, which is the culture that the internet falls into and that I think the game companies want you to be in.
Exactly.
You need to ask yourself, do each of them have value? Am I getting the PS5 just for one game? Do I need that? Am I getting the Xbox, but I'm going to be on Game Pass, but I'll never use it? Do I need that? You know what I mean? It's a lot of like, we as consumers need to learn to start stepping back and asking ourselves questions.
And I think that's the thing, is that we need to put these companies in an accountable state. Like for me, of course, we need to hold Ubisoft accountable. That was a hashtag that went around, and I thoroughly believe in that because they allowed sexual harassment to go out. I am no longer putting my money into Ubisoft.
Yeah.
That's it. You're holding these companies accountable. But that's one extreme on like boycotting, right? Which is going to be the next Evolve video, if you didn't know already. Boycotting a video game company. Hooray! But that's the thing. It's one thing to boycott, but talk about the other extreme, like what you said, is my time, my money, and, do I value this thing? That needs to be put into accountability too, right?
Yeah.
Not letting these companies just throw anything at you like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
But it's just like you have limited time. You have limited money. These are limited resources that you have. So it's kind of like really ask them, is this something I want to spend my money on? The one thing I kept thinking when as you were speaking, it's exactly like this podcast. I understand that people do not care about me. Like I go on the internet. I mean, it's funny, but it's also true. But it's also true. Nobody cares about me. But I need to make this show in a way where people care. People need to ask me, why your show? Why not CADcast? Why not? I was going to say Giant Bomb, but they're gone. So whatever. But, why not these other gaming podcasts?
Yeah.
Why yours? And I need to constantly answer that question because I'm handsome. That's the answer. But the same thing that you ask me, why your podcast, you need to ask these same things to the gaming companies. Why your game? Why you? Why your gaming console? Always.
Yeah.
Why not just get the Xbox because it gives you Game Pass,
Right.
But Liz.
And even as far as why $70, $60, $70
Yes.
for this game right now, as opposed to 2 years from now, $40, $30.
Yeah.
$20. How maybe it sells really badly. $4.
Like I still haven't I still haven't purchased Resident Evil 8 because I'm like, it's going on Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's straight up going to Game Pass. Like, so I'll just wait till it's on Game Pass, I would be shocked, even if like 2 years from now it never makes it on, I'll be shocked. But I'll just wait till it goes on Game Pass, honestly. Liz, do you have any thoughts?
I don't even remember your original question at this point.
Do you think multiple owning multiple consoles can lead to intentional gaming, or do you think it discourages it? Do you think we should just stick to one console
I don't think
or
so.
PC?
I don't think it discourages anything because, think about our house. We do have both a PlayStation
Yes.
and an Xbox. We intend on getting the new generations eventually. of both. We have a GameCube. We have some older systems. And, and we don't overplay games. We have them because those are systems that there are games on them that we like. You wouldn't have ever gotten a PlayStation if I didn't like video games. I don't see you ever going out of your way to buy a PlayStation just so you could have played the Spider-Man game. Because at the time, that was
almost did, but
but you wouldn't. It's not in your personality that you would go buy a whole expensive console to play one game that you were interested in playing. You're like, oh, okay, I guess I lose out on that one.
Yeah.
Whereas since I prefer games that tend to be on PlayStation, that's why we got a PlayStation, because they had games that I was interested in. And so I don't think having multiple consoles encourages overplaying or anything like that. If you're buying them because they have games you want to play, not just like one game, I think it's fine to own more than one. And if you see that you're not using it ever, then you can get rid of it.
Exactly. But I want to bring this around to a fan favorite, as we like to say. I want to bring it to, as we were talking about social media bad, we're going to talk about social media answers. Hooray!
You don't know how much that's going to help in editing that you started this at the very beginning of this clip.
Yay!
It's going to be so helpful.
So I asked you on the garbage social media, what does intentional gaming look like to you? And all of you said, I don't know. I'm on social media, but I have a couple answers here. So I asked you on the Twitters, on the Instagrams, and on the Discords, what does intentional gaming look like to you? And firstly, we're going to go to Instagram, who the Play Your Way podcast has to say, number one, going on your lunch break at work and firing up the Switch to get 45 minutes of playtime in. And number two, Getting home from an exhausting day at work, turning on a game to play it for an hour or two because you know it's the hardest part. And turning a game on to play in for an hour or two because you know the hardest part is just the energy just to turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're actually dive back in, you're glad you did. Gaming uses energy, critical thinking skills, movement, and the active listening skills. So the motivation to play isn't there 24/7. Intentionality can be important. So like you said, like during your lunch break, which Andrew, you brought up that like you have a set time, set hour, boom, that's it. But even like gaming does bring joy. And we talked about that. We actually talked about that with you and Zach on the show.
It's true.
It's true. It does. But sometimes, you know, you need to be intentional with your time with it because you know it's going to take up that energy. When's the best time to play video games? When you have the most energy and you can make this a joyful thing, I guess you can say. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this comment?
Yeah, no, I really like the, I know that video games are a great middle of the day decompressor for me. So I very specifically plan to play them on my lunch break. I think that's fantastic. Because number one, it's kind of a limited time thing. So it's not anything where you can get trapped into going down the rabbit hole and not getting your work done. You have to go back to work at a certain time. Yes. But you're then able to use it in a way that has value to you. You're able to get the entertainment. You're able to process what you've done that morning or get away from what you've done in the morning if that's what you need to do. Whatever it may be. And that's the value that the video games ultimately have. Like, none of this discussion is to suggest that like video games don't have value or we should judge people who want to play them for longer periods of time. It's just a matter of like, that is a wonderful way to structure it intentionally for yourself, knowing this is a very effective way for me to use video games to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. That you know, if we just play it during times that we're the least amount of energy and we don't enjoy it, like we're just trying to get this in because we want to play a video game, it's gonna just kill the joy all the way. Liz, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm kind of glad he said this because I thought it was just me, where it's like sometimes the hardest part about playing the video game is getting the energy to turn it on.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, yes, that is like my biggest problem, because it's like, I want to play, but it's like, then I have to like start it and I have to figure out where I am in the game.
Yes.
And it's like, but then once you get into it, you're like, oh yeah, I actually do. I like this game. I'm glad I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But the energy, the thought process of thinking of like, oh, I have to start the game up and figure everything out again, like especially if it's been a while since you played it.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. So like I completely get that one and understand that. But I think having that limited time is, you know, I definitely agree with that.
Andrew, quick question to you, and then we'll move forward to the Discord answers. You say you play an hour a day. Now, does that timer start when you pick up the controller or when your game starts? So let's say you're playing on Xbox. Is it when you turn on the Xbox or when the game finally loads in that the hour starts?
I usually start it when I'm picking up the controller. Like I usually, like if I'm playing at 4 to 5, I'll set the alarm for 5. I pick up the controller at 4, but the alarm is going to go off at 5 no matter what, you know?
Dang. So
I also don't tell my boss I've played over an hour a couple of days already.
No.
I'm very bad. Also, my boss is me, so don't tell me.
Don't tell me.
But even so, like I'm working on it. I think the thing for me is more the idea that like it's not that I don't ever want to be allowed to play more than an hour of video games in a day. Like I said, I don't need to demonize that. If that's what you want to do and you have the time and there's value to doing that, that's fine. But I should be able to only play an hour. I shouldn't be so addicted and so habitual and impulsive on it that I cannot limit the time to an hour if I needed to.
Yeah.
That's where the issue's been. So, I'm working on it.
I only ask that because of load times, and I'm sure like, oh, get the next generation because there is no load times. I only say it because like quick resume on the Xbox, but it's like there's always so loading time waiting for the Xbox to load up. Then you got to pick, you know, we already picked the game, but you know, getting the game to load in, loading your save file, and then boom, because there's like a good couple minutes with that. But I was just like curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to account for that, sure. If you want to make sure that the hour is a full hour of actual
Game
things,
time.
maybe then I would start turning it on at 3:55.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
I started by 4 or something. But I'm not that crazy about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mass Effect Legendary also has fairly quick load times, so I don't think it's been like a massive.
it does, dude. I'll be honest. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the Discord. Commander Nikki has this to say: it's especially when I'm getting a new game I've never played before. Focusing on every first impression, the title screen, the soundtrack, first steps in a new world, the voice acting, the story, taking everything in and having nothing else running in the background. And that's especially important, having nothing else running in the background. You're not having a podcast. You're not having like another video. You're not having a movie or any kind of other music, or a podcast or nothing in the background. When she games, it's intentional that she takes in the soundtrack, the voice acting, right? She takes that in, the first steps in the new world. Like she's actually taking this all in, taking her time in it instead of, right? Like, oh, I just want to play a video game and just like playing the video game rather than, stopping to smell the roses, right? Andrew, what are your thoughts?
I think this is a very different approach to a slightly different definition of intentional, but it works around to the same thing that digital minimalism is trying to teach you, which is being present in the active moment that you're like choosing to take it in a certain way. The idea of digital minimalism is getting out of impulsive, unconscious use of things, and to make sure that your use of things is conscious. So in this time, if you're choosing your hour of gaming for the day, you want to be focused on it. You want to like get out of it what you're trying to, as opposed to just like, I'm so tired, let me put on 17 shows while I play this game and just lay here. And then you're not really like
taking it in.
You're not getting as much from the individual things. You're just getting a cacophony of noise to surround you while you veg out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm going to take in this hiatus, because I've been only just taking video games as just like, okay, I want to play video games because I have a video game podcast. Okay. But during the hiatus, I want to enjoy a video game, but really take in, especially the soundtrack, because I'm really trying to get back into music. And that's part of the intentionality I'm going to take in this hiatus. I'm going to like get back into it, try to like, write some songs again and taking an intentionality with it. But during that time, I want to really take inspiration from video game soundtracks and just take it all in. How does it adapt to the actual game I'm in? But that's what she's saying is that, stopping to smell the roses.
Yeah.
But Liz, do you have any thoughts on?
Not really. Just because I don't really struggle with focusing on video games. I actually struggle to play video games.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here thinking, I'm just like, I need to start dedicating an hour a day to play. Like I have to force myself to play video games for an hour a day, as opposed to preventing myself from playing over an hour.
Right.
So it's like, I don't really have an opinion on that one.
Well, that's all right. You're not really a person that doesn't stop to smell the roses. You like taking
my time with that's how I am. Like I like to be like I like to have multiple things at a time. That's because it helps me focus in more. Like I like to read a book with some instrumental music playing because it helps set a whole mood for me.
Right.
So like I don't struggle to not stop and smell because I'm just a slow person.
That's why Liz is better adjusted than the rest.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, it's okay. You just said that Nikki is wrong with everything that you just said. But
say
it's
that.
fine. We'll just
I'm
move on
different.
to Twofer. Twofer has to say, Commander Nikki.
What's that?
Commander Nikki, she didn't say that.
I did not.
But Twofer has to say, intentionality means everything to me. I'll always play video games for a reason. If I'm having a bad day, a video game will always pull me into a brighter mood. I've used video games to cope with tragedies, like Watch Dogs for when my grandmother passed away, or pull an all-nighter LAN party with Halo to celebrate a friend's birthday, right? You're with other friends. You're with them. It's a LAN party, not just, you hop online. But I'll never put it in front of other, quote-unquote, more important priorities, such as house chores, work, or time with my girlfriend, Minecraft if I'm sad, Rocket League if I'm mad, or Halo if I'm bad. I love it. Halo if I'm bad. I hope I made sense of that. Yeah, was he teasing me? He just said, like, I hope that made sense. And I'm thinking, hey, that's my thing. Topher, dang it. That's okay. I'll never play Rocket League with him ever again. But I do like how he has a purpose with everything. He uses video games. And sure, a psychologist might say, like, oh, you use video games to cope with tragedies. Oh, well, we should work on that.
No, it's the same thing. People listen to certain types of music when they're in a certain mood.
No.
If I'm in a good mood, I listen to Panic at the Disco.
What?
Or I have music that I can sing along to.
Right.
If I'm feeling anxious, I tend to listen to more worship music.
Yeah.
Like like it's the same thing with video games. He bases video games off of his mood.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with shows. If I'm really anxious and not feeling great, I am not going to go sit down and watch Supernatural. That's not going to help.
Right.
I'll watch a sitcom. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think, Andrew?
No, yeah, very, very much agreed. Like video games can absolutely be a part of processing something or whatever, I mean, maybe sometimes you literally just need escapism for a second. You just need something that takes you out of what you're dealing with in the world. That's okay too. I mean, if you're using it too much as an avoidance tactic, then I understand the psychologist being like, okay, now we need to talk about it. But the diatribe that we will sometimes get from modern day civilization about, you're wasting your time. It's not always. You can absolutely use it for whatever. It's another form of art. It's another form of media taken in like any other. It can be a very effective form of entertainment or relief or coping or whatever it may be. That's the point of art in the first place. So yeah, I love that. I love that he mentioned, that they're important to me, that I always do them intentionally and have reasons for using them, but they're not going to supersede other responsibilities, because that's an important thing to make sure that we keep in mind while we're doing stuff. And not everyone struggles with that, but some people will. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what Twofer and Liz said. So
yeah, I mean, there's days where, like what you do, like I make daily lists, and there's just not enough time in my day to do that, right? Yeah. And some of the days it's more of just like recording Games of Groceries and then recording an Evolved video. But then I have work, and then I have to, do this chore, do this chore, do this chore. And it's like, okay, I don't have time for video games today, but maybe tomorrow I'll have all the time. But like I need to plan out my day and have a priority in my life, and then just fill in the gaps. Like I have time for games today. And like seeing it from the moment I wake up, do I have time? No, I don't. But that's not a big deal, because tomorrow I will. Yeah. Or maybe I'll die tomorrow. Who knows?
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I want to move on to Game Simp, who has to say, Game Simp says, I think intentional gaming is just playing games and thinking about them on a deeper level at times. Sure, some games work better if you turn off your mind and just play, but others exist to make you think. Whether you're in the middle of playing a game or the controller has been put down, games like BioShock, The Last of Us, Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear Solid 2 make you think about the world around you. In this way, they connect beyond just being a game. Maybe that's just the content creator and me talking, but I can't help but think about games when they're just trying to say something about the world we live in.
That's why you get along with him.
I do get along. I get along with everybody in the Discord.
Do, but the way he described it, the same way that you talk about like games and movies, you think about things on a very deep level.
Yes.
Whereas like I'm just like, hey, a fun game. Like, oh, that was a decent movie, and I don't really think that deeply about it. Yeah. And like we've talked about that during Movie Minutes, where it's like.
Well, we even talked about that with Brian McGinnis on one show.
Yeah, where it's just like I just kind of take things at face value when I'm playing games. I'm like, oh, that was really fun.
Yeah.
And there are times where certain things I'll be like, oh wow, that's interesting. But like you're kind of like him where you think on a very deep level and you take and you like to focus on like what's the deeper meaning, what was their point behind telling me this story.
Yes. But Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah. I think that is something that will definitely be variable for each person, but has to do with the idea of engaging with the thing that you're doing in the moment, for sure. I mean, if I had chosen to just kind of sit back and not engage with Outer Worlds, I don't know that I would understand asexuality and identify as it now. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain amount of just making sure that you're engaging and present and taking the thing in. If that's how you want to take games in and you derive value from it, that's one of the ways you're going to do it, is making sure that you're intentionally staying engaged while you're playing and finding times that you're able to be engaged, as opposed to by the end of an 8-hour impulse session this past year, I'm not taking it in anymore. I'm mindlessly playing. I generally have an episode playing of something, some show at the same time. So it's a very different way of engaging with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
I'm wearing my purple shirt for asexuality today also.
I wasn't
Pride Month.
I didn't know if it was purple or it was a dark
the
blue.
light.
Well, I think it's also our TV too, because I have the brightness turned down.
So it
that-
looks kind of blue on our TV.
Yeah.
Well, it's purple.
It's purple.
Gotcha.
Get it together, people. Anyways, so Pride Month. We're talking about Pride Month.
Oh, okay.
But here's my thing. I think we can go into closing thoughts because we're, getting low on time. And again, that's why I like to keep my episodes.
Adam.
When I talk about that, like I'm more of the showrunner here. You're the editing, but I like to keep it. I like to keep it within an hour and a half, just to have that intentionality of just like bringing it all together instead of just letting it go out further. But we are running out of time, so I want to jump into closing thoughts. I'll give my closing thoughts. Liz will give yours. Andrew, I want to end on a note from you, but I think when we're talking about intentional gaming, these are just my closing thoughts here, is that when we talk about intentional gaming, I think we need to focus in on, like what Andrew said, what do you value? What do you want from a game? And not really caring about games culture or games Twitter or games company of what you should be liking. Sure, yes, Dark Souls might be the gamer's choice, but is that your game? Not necessarily. I love Red Dead Redemption 2. I've played that game twice. I might play it a third time all the way through. But because I value that game, I love that game. I love MLB The Show 21. I don't care that it's a sports game and I need to be a gamer and all that.
Yeah.
I value my time in MLB The Show 21. And that's where I'll spend most of my time because I don't have a lot of time. So that might sound morbid, and it should sound morbid. You don't have a lot of time. Do the things you like. Be intentional about the things you enjoy.
I was not thinking of it that way when you said that. I was thinking more of like, I don't have a lot. I don't have time to do things.
I think about death on the hour, every hour. So here we are. But out of this morbid thoughts, right? Be intentional for what you do, and just be intentional in the way you want. Because as we saw in the social media answers, tons of ways to be intentional.
Oh, yeah.
To be intentional with the games you play and be intentional the way you are intentional. So just play video games, enjoy video games, and stop being consumed by other companies' thoughts for you.
Yeah.
Liz, what are your closing thoughts?
No, I completely agree that it all comes down to what brings you joy, to kind of bring it into like even just like regular your surroundings minimalism. You keep what makes you happy, and get rid of things that don't. So don't think about the culture, like you said. Just do what makes you happy. If you want all 3 consoles and you're going to use them, and you use that time well, go ahead. Like that's what brings you joy, as long as you're not ignoring your responsibilities and still being productive. I think that's all that matters. Like you said, with all social media answers, each person had their own definition of intentional gaming, like setting the mood or having the time to make sure you can think about it deeper, things like that. I think it all depends on the person. Whatever to you, whatever that means to you, that's what you do. Like I said, for me, I'm thinking, wow, I need to play video games more. I want to get into this culture, and I need to make sure I'm carving out time to be in video games because I enjoy them. I just really love binge watching.
Yeah.
And that's my time waster. Whereas my way of I forget the word we're using now.
Intentionality?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Intentionally playing video games is for me to actually say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play this game on my lunch break. Done.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to do. So, like you said, for every person is different, but I think whatever works for you works for you.
Exactly. Andrew, and it's off on the high notes. What are your closing thoughts?
That was a literal high note. Okay. Anyway, great. Moving on from that, those are not my closing thoughts.
Andrew's giggles. Okay, everybody. Thanks for watching Games and Groceries.
Yeah, I think the thing is, what's important, especially in a modern culture where we have noise coming at us from all angles at all times, is that you're able to understand what your personal values are, what's valuable to you. Because you are an individual and you are in control of your life. And the way to get value out of life is to understand what things bring you personally value. That's going to be different than Tom next door. It's going to be different than Charlene down the way. It's everybody has their own things, and every answer to that question is valid. And then, I mean, you don't necessarily, I'm a little bit logically brained, so
Yeah.
I think of breaking it down into almost transactions and it's twofold with games and a lot of technology. There is the literal financial transaction that you pay $500 for a PS5, or you pay $60 for a new game, or whatever amount of money. And then so the question there is, do I have that money to spend? Is it worth it to spend on this game? And that is, I think, with intentionality in gaming culture, what we're getting into. You don't need to be a part of the discourse for every single new game that comes out. If that game is not going to bring you to your values, if you don't necessarily care about that game, but the thing that gaming culture is convincing you of is you need to know all these new games that everyone's talking about, that's not enough reason to spend $60 on it. And then the other side of the transaction is the literal time. With if it's a regular video game, maybe it's going to take 10 or 20 hours of your life. If it's an RPG, 100 hours of your life are going to go into this.
Yeah.
For real.
And if you want to put that in, if that game is going to give you the values back that you've selected in that amount of time, fantastic. Then put the time in and get the game and do it. But if it's not going to efficiently give you those values, if it's not a game you're actually interested in and you're just going off of the hype, which, surprise, is built up by the companies. Wow. Like, it's how, like, when they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake in 2013 and then we don't get it for 8 more years.
Yeah. Or the Square Enix Marvel's Avengers game.
There you go.
Any of that.
I
mean, it's literally like the video game industry has made itself a hype engine where hype gets to fever pitches and people clamor to buy games where it's like, did you even care about that game? And sometimes I think we don't even know if we care anymore because we're so caught up in the noise of it. So that is the intentionality. That's the other half of the intentionality. One is literally selecting your hours in the day, intentionality with your literal time.
Yes.
But then the other intentionality is just making sure that you're able to step back, because technology wants to sweep you up in excitement and in noise and in spending your money. And instead, you need to step back and be like, how am I spending my life? This is my life, and I want it to all my time to be used valuably. I don't need to play every game. I'm not going to be able to play every game. This is just a PSA to everyone in the world. You will not be able to play every game. There's too many.
Yeah.
Yes.
So take those things, and then that value can translate into almost everything else in your life. Is this show worth my time? Is this exercise class worth my time? Is you can start thinking about everything that way, and that, I think, is ultimately going to be a way to shut out some of the noise and not be influenced by it, and make sure that you are living intentionally by doing things that bring you the values that matter to you.
Great points.
Yeah.
Honestly. We can just wrap up the show right here, but before we do that, we gotta roll the red carpet.
Yeah.
Oh, for the 8,000th time. Actually, Can we actually, because you're practicing digital minimalism, so it's like, where can we follow you? Where's your social media pages, Andrew?
So we can all stare at nothing.
Nothing. We can just stare at your glorious picture.
Yeah, I mean, the accounts aren't deleted, but nothing's going up on them right now.
So how about this? Instead of rolling out the red carpet, what are some charities you would like to highlight? What are any kind of organizations you would like to shout out or anything like that? Let's roll out the red carpet. Or, what should we be putting our eyes and time into?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to pull up a couple. Maybe I can actually give proper websites.
Yeah.
For things, so I'm not just. I mean, I think you can probably just Google the names to a lot of these things anyway. Yeah, the Trevor Project has been a long-standing. I'm gonna lean into LGBTQIA plus type charities because it's Pride Month, and that feels right to me. The Trevor Project has been a long-standing one for helping that kind of thing. I think a lot of new resources were born last year during the Black Lives Matter explosion, where everybody actually wanted information about it finally, where you could get not just Black Lives Matter type of charities, but help specifically for Black trans youth, that sort of thing, since they are one of the most victimized communities in terms of marginalized groups, a lot of specialized charities for that. So Google's a great resource for finding those kind of specific things and looking into that. But like I said, the Trevor Project is wonderful. Looking for small businesses that in their mission statement, they're Black owned, they're queer owned, they're whatever, those kind of things. I mean, we still live within a capitalist society, so giving your money to those kind of things helps balance things that are naturally unbalanced due to the system. There's things like, I'm just trying to think now off the top of my head because my Googling is failing.
Well, how about this?
There's the Equal Justice Initiative. There's a lot of things, look up charities, give your money to those things, because then you're giving value to other people.
How about this, Andrew? In the Discord chat, send me your top 3 links that you would love for people's eyes attention to, whether it be a Black-owned or queer-owned business or the Trevor Project. Your top 3 links, I will put them in the description down below to put your attention into, and that's how we'll do things. And also I'll put a link to Black to Gold, of course. Put the link to
we're
there.
Still doing stuff.
Yeah, of course, and put your attention towards that. But that's what we'll do for this episode. We'll put those links in the description down below. So, Andrew, thanks again for coming on the show before we went on hiatus for the 8th time, I think. 9th?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah,
It's 8.
11,000th. Who knows?
It's always a pleasure. That's what matters.
It really is. I love having you on. The fans love having you on, of course. But I think we'll just end the show here.
Okay.
So again, those links that Andrew will send me, they are in the description down below. Go check them out for yourself. But we thank you again for listening to this week's Games and Groceries podcast. We hope you had a good one here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you know when all these last few episodes come out, as well as when you'll know when we'll be back. So hit that subscribe button, stay subscribed so you always know that. Follow on the garbage social media on Twitter at Gaming Groceries or on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. And until the next one, stay striving, keep gaming, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.